So Mandiner is back with Michael Knowles in the studio as our last guest for this year's CPAC. Michael, you've announced your visit to Hungary on X in advance by stating that you're returning to one of your favorite countries. How did you earn that honor?
I love Budapest. I got back here. I realized I've been to Budapest as many times as I've been to Italy.
Wow.
My family is from Italy.
You're Italian.
I don't have anything here. I don't speak Hungarian, that's for sure. But it's just been so inspiring to see Hungary recognize all the existential crises facing the West and then actually do something about it. I got to speak with the Prime Minister yesterday, and we were discussing population collapse and family policy. And we said, well, how do you reverse it? Obviously, there's been a great deal of success, but how do you go all the way? He said, well, look, I don't know. We don't really know. I mean, it's the million-dollar question. But what I'll tell you is, at least we're trying. It's the only country in the West that's really trying to save the population. And you see this on so many fronts. I mean, I walk around Budapest. It's a beautiful city. And I say, when is that building made? I said, oh, that was rebuilt 5 years ago. That was rebuilt 2 years ago. You've got to be kidding me. How you associate new architecture with ugliness almost everywhere in the world? How do you have beautiful? Because we want to. I thought that's the attitude. We actually can do it. We can change things. I love it.
So there was a moment a couple of weeks ago that was bittersweet for Hungarians because the Pope who was elected was not Hungarian, but it was sweet for Americans because it was the first American Pope, Leo XIV, the first Republican Pope, possibly the first fan of the Michael Knowles show. How do you assess the legacy of Francis, and what do you expect Leo XIV to be like?
Well, I would have been quite happy had Cardinal Erdo been elected Pope. Now, everything we're seeing from Pope Leo XIV is really quite good. And I was pulling for the name. Beforehand I said, we're probably not getting Pius XIII. I don't think we're getting another Urban. Leo XIV would be great. So I think there's a lot of good signs. The fact that he's American worried me a little because, if he were from Texas, Tennessee, it's a good sign. Chicago is not known for its political and theological sanity. But I think we're getting a lot of good signs out of the Pope. And I think what he's aiming at in these early days is unity. The Francis pontificate was quite divisive. Even liberals, even people who were more favorable toward it, I think they would even admit that. And so I think people want a return to normal. So the fact that Leo XIV walks out wearing the mozzetta, he sings the Regina Coeli in his first Urbi et Orbi, it does not seem as hostile to the traditional liturgy as his predecessor was. These are all very good signs.
So I want to pick your mind about a phenomenon that's been a thing in the US for a couple of decades now, and it's only emerging in Europe. American media is very politically polarized. You're easy to identify as a conservative commentator or a liberal one, a conservative journal or liberal one. How do you maintain journalistic integrity when your party is in power?
Well, you have to be honest about your priors, I think is helpful. So as you point out, in America, it's been clearer for a longer time that you have liberal media and you have conservative media. There are many in the media who are liberal, socialist, communist maybe, who will deny that they have any biases, any prejudices, any affiliation. And that's, I think, very dishonest. They claim that those are the people who have integrity. I think they have the least integrity of any of the journalists. If you can be forthright and say, look, these are my priors, this is where I'm coming from, then you can even quite easily criticize your party in power because you're saying, look, I want my party to succeed. I'm on the side of my party. I'm quite clear. I'm a great supporter of Donald Trump. If he makes a misstep, I can criticize it because I can say, look, I want him to succeed. Rather than pretending to be neutral. Who's neutral? I'm an American. I want my country to succeed.
I would also like to ask you how fudged we are in terms of the tariff war. So it doesn't seem as if the EU and the US were very advanced in tariff negotiations. We were snapped with a 50% tariff a couple of days ago that was put off for a couple of weeks. How do you think this is going to end, and do we have anything to fear?
Well, so yes, there's always something to fear in a trade war. However, I think the fears are overstated because when the tariffs began, I wondered what the top priority was. There can be three consequences of tariffs. Either they're a tool of negotiation to reduce trade barriers in other countries. Or they're a way to reshore jobs, or they're a way to raise revenue. But you can't have all three at once. If they're a negotiation tool, you're not going to get the jobs or the revenue. If you get the jobs, you're not going to get the revenue. So I was trying to figure out which it is. I'm quite convinced the purpose of the tariffs is to reduce trade barriers in other countries and ultimately increase trade. So that's good news for countries who want to cut a good deal with Trump. However, it's bad news if you're part of Europe, because Brussels is not run very well. So you got to hope that cooler heads prevail in Europe to make sure that a deal is struck that's good. But I'm quite convinced a deal can be made.
Do you have the impression that Putin is taking Trump for a ride on Ukraine negotiations?
The liberals have been saying this for 10 years. And I can't help but notice, as a student of history, that President Trump is the only president in now 25 years on whose watch Vladimir Putin has not further invaded a country.
Right.
Under Bush, he invaded Georgia. Under Obama, he invades Crimea into Ukraine. Trump, he stops. Then Biden comes in, he goes in, takes much more of Ukraine. So I'd say maybe these liberal journalists should take a look in the mirror and realize where the weakness vis-a-vis Putin has really come from. I don't think Trump has illusions about Putin. The United States is in a weaker position now because of Biden. Because the war began. The war would not have begun had President Trump been permitted to have a second term. However, I'm confident he'll strike a deal because Europe, the European Union, wants the war to go on forever. They're now saying they're going to raise an army and send it to Ukraine or something ridiculous. I think Trump has a way out, which is to say, this was a stupid war. It shouldn't have begun. It's all Biden's fault, and we're not going to keep it going. So I think he'll strike a deal with Putin because the only way that, actually, Prime Minister Orban made this point, the only way the war ends is a deal between the United States and Putin. It's not going to hinge on Ukraine, and it's not going to hinge on Europe. It's going to hinge on sound foreign policy. And Trump has given us the soundest foreign policy we've had in my lifetime.
So ever since Trump took power, nobody has heard outside of the United States anything about the Democrats. How are they? And how did they get so out of touch with the American people? And what are the turning points where they could possibly then come back into the game?
Well, you're welcome that you haven't had to hear anything about the Democrats. They're really dispirited right now. I mean, they don't know what they believe on anything. They got totally routed. It's not just that they lost the election. They lost the popular vote. That's the first time Democrats have lost the popular vote in 20 years. They also lost 1 in 5 black voters, black male voters. The black male voters have been a lock for Democrats. These big news. They lost 46% of Hispanic voters. That was shocking to them. They lost 40% of women under the age of 30. This should be the ideal Democrat voter. They lost on everything. And the harder thing for them is they don't know what the way back is. Israel-Gaza. Is the way back to be more pro-Israel? You're going to irritate your whole base. Is it to be more pro-Gaza? You're going to irritate your establishment and your donor class. Can't talk about it. Is the way back to exalt AOC? Well, that might help your base. It's going to kill you among moderates. Is your way back to exalt someone like Gavin Newsom? Say that man let one of his biggest cities burn down because of his stupid policies. So they don't have good candidates. They don't have a good platform. And there's no clear answer as to what their platform even should be. Gavin Newsom was the smartest, which is he's just trying to become Trump. So he starts a podcast, and he invited Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, all the MAGA people. But other than trying to be Diet Trump, which isn't going to work anyway, I don't know what their path back out is, which is just fine by me.
One last question, because it's something you have lots of experience with and we have a little experience with. It's celebrities doing politics. You've had this for decades in the US. They're really starting to do politics on the side of Orban's opposition right now. It's a phenomenon over the last couple of months. Do you think it's a good omen if celebrities start making politics for you?
Well, it's always so insufferably dumb because they don't know anything. But it can be effective. You know, and it was very effective for the Democrats. So don't, as a foreign supporter of Prime Minister Orban and the Fidesz party, I would say you should be worried about this. The way that we overcame it in America was that we ran the biggest celebrity in the country on our side. So they thought, the Democrats thought they had celebrity locked up. They have Beyonce, Taylor Swift,
Katy Perry.
all of Hollywood, all these people. But we have Trump. Trump, #1 network TV star. Man, he's been all over movies. He's been in tabloids for over 40 years. Guy's been mentioned in popular music like 300 plus times. They didn't see that coming. The Democrats did. So all of a sudden, one of their biggest tools, the celebrities, was totally useless to them. Now, you're beginning to see this in Hungary. Luckily, Orban has quite a personal following. I mean, he's done a very good job in Hungary. So I hope that can counter it a little bit. But we gotta get some celebrities of your own.
We should run a celebrity. Thank you very much, Michael. Have a good one, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.